Hello everyone, my name is Chris Arsenault. I'm one of the instructors in the Computer Networking Technology program at Holland College, Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I put this PowerPoint together for my students, but I decided I might narrate and record just in case anyone else might find it useful. The topic, as you can see on the screen, cloud computing, a very basic overview, is just that. I've tried to take some of the ideas and complicated information in cloud computing and make it as simplistic as possible, just to help people get a sense of what is cloud computing. So what are my objectives with this? The biggest thoughts that I had in getting this out is that people can understand a definition of what is cloud computing and basically how we use it. There's some terminology and some acronyms that you'll see. Most likely if you're watching this video, you may have already seen these somewhere before. Things like service models, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Some of the different delivery models as well with public, private, personal, and hybrid. So I try to explain these a little bit. So let's get right into it. This is Alice. Alice is a programmer. She's written a web app and she's really excited about it. In fact, she's going to start her own business using this web app. So she needs a way to get her web app onto the internet so her future clients can connect to it. In a very classic example of how we would normally do this, Alice would typically take the code that she's written and she would upload it to a server. Well, I guess first she would have to purchase that server and then upload the code to it and connect that server out to the internet. This allows for communication to happen in. So now her web app is ready. Customers are connecting to it. She has a bit of a problem, although it's a really good problem to have. Her web app has become very popular. So popular that actually the server's struggling a little bit to keep up with the requests. So although Alice is not only a talented software engineer, she also has some training and experience in infrastructure, so she knows what to do. First thing she does is invest in more equipment. So she buys some more servers, some networking equipment. She sets up a cluster. The cluster can provide what we call load balancing and failover protection. So this helps distribute incoming requests for her web app across multiple servers. Thus, it's not struggling as much. And it also gives her that security in case of a failure. So if one of the servers does happen to fail, she has multiple servers running the application. So the investment really helps. Her clients are saying everything is working much better and her problem is now solved, right? Well, for now it is. Alice was mentioned by a celebrity on a talk show about her web app, and now her web app has exploded. Her cluster can't handle the millions of requests per minute, so she needs to upgrade her data center. So by adding this data center, Alice has added more equipment, typically more expensive equipment. She's added more networking. She's added more of that. And now Alice is getting pretty busy because she's trying to run her business and take care of her data center. So as part of this as well, she now might hire some administrators. She's paying more for electricity. The complexity has gone up. Her maintenance has to be taken care of. And like mentioned here, extra electricity and cooling and security as well. She has to focus a lot more on security because now that her app is more popular, hackers have kind of taken notice of her system. So Alice is stressed out and trying to keep up, and it's very difficult. She's investing more and more time into the system. So is there anything Alice could do, or could she have done in the past to kind of prevent this from happening? Well, there's a few things that can happen. But basically, when we take a look at these options, The idea here is that Alice just wants to get her code up onto the internet and allow people to connect to it. So how can she do that without going the route that we just took? Oh, sure, Nimbus. No problem. So Nimbus is a cloud provider. He's basically, as he said, he's just going to take care of everything that we just talked about so Alice can focus on what Alice needs to focus on, is her business. So what does Nimbus offer? Well, Nimbus and most cloud providers offer an incredible amount of services that are available. We're going to focus on three of the basic service models. And really what we're asking Nimbus to do for us is just take over some of the responsibilities that Alice had and Alice's team had previously. Now, it's important to remember that you can actually decide how much do I want Nimbus to take over and how much do I want to retain. And with each of the different service models and approaches that way, we make those decisions. Obviously, the more I have Nimbus take over, the more my monthly costs will occur. So let's take a look at the first one. So basically, if we look at Alice's original approach, she purchased a server on herself and she connected to the internet. Well, what Nimbus can do is give us that server. So it's like we're renting that server from Nimbus. And Nimbus can provide remote access to that server. And then Alice can log into that server, can install the operating system. So maybe she wants to install Windows or Linux. She can install her services like a web server, database, all of that. She does her own maintenance, updates, security, all of that. So very much it's very similar to what Alice had before. The main difference is that the server is not located on premises. So Alice doesn't have to worry about those other factors that we talked about before. If her server is becoming overrun, then Nimbus can add more features to the system and allow for that to happen. This is what we would call infrastructure as a service. So if you see the IaaS, infrastructure as a service, that's what we would consider this. Now keep in mind that it was Alice when she first started noticing her services were being disrupted because there was too many people connecting to her single server. She went and invested in equipment to create the cluster, the load balancing, but that's all taken care of now by Nimbus as well. So Nimbus can take care of that. But the biggest thing really here to keep in mind is that Alice is really just renting a server from someone else, and she needs to take care of that server. That's still part of her role. So if I don't want to do that, or if Alice doesn't want to do that, she wants to focus more time just on her web app. She doesn't really want to take care of the operating systems, the service updates, the services, all of that online. What can she do? Well, she can ask Nimbus to do a lot of that as well. And we will call this platform as a service. So really Nimbus takes care of everything else except for the code that Alice has created. And really, in the end, Alice just uploads her code to Nimbus's server and the world can connect to it. So these have some definite advantages where now Alice can just focus on her code. Nimbus takes care of provisioning that code, allowing people to connect to that code, automatically adding load balancing when needed. And one great thing is when it's not needed, Nimbus can remove some of that load balancing. And that's another great aspect of cloud computing, is when you require more, Nimbus automatically gives you more, but when you require less, Nimbus takes away. So in the original example, when Alice created her data center, it's not like she could just give the servers back and get her money back from those servers if for some reason her business started to kind of go down. Maybe at a certain time of year you find sales are a little bit lower, and at certain times of the year, sales are up. This is the approach that the cloud computing can dynamically change its offerings based on trends and usage. But again, I just want to reiterate that everything that Nimbus is doing in this example is really what Alice was doing before. It's just done somewhere else. And that's the big idea with cloud computing. It's not some sort of magical service. It's really just somebody else doing the work for you, and you're paying a monthly fee for that. How much are those monthly fees? It depends on the different providers out there, and it depends on how much you utilize it, how much storage, all of that. So that's part of that. Now, the third one that we mentioned earlier is what we called software as a service, SaaS. And although Alice, she makes great software, a business can't operate just on your own software that you're providing. Typically, you need other software to help make your company grow. So things like Microsoft's suite of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, the Adobe suite, things like QuickBooks or Slack. These are programs that help businesses be more efficient and do documentation and paperwork and things like that. So it used to be that we would have to purchase that software. It usually would come on a disk, and you would install it on the computer, and your users could then use it. Now we have a lot of software that you can actually buy as a subscription, like the Adobe suite, like the Microsoft suite with the Office 365. You purchase these suites and you subscribe to them, and you can log in through a browser, and you don't have to install them anymore. You can use them right from the browser. So no matter where you go, you have access. And this is really what we call software as a service. And if we actually look at Alice's web app, Alice herself might be offering her web app as a software as a service. So it kind of comes full circle there. So those are really the three different types of service models per se. If we take a look at delivery models then, how do we approach this and how do we look at this? The idea that not every business is going to be like Alice's business. Some have restrictions in what they can and can't put into the cloud due to policies, procedures, even laws that prevent them from doing certain things. So there's 4 different types of approach that we look at. A public cloud is what we talked about, the idea of putting your information into a public service like that. Private cloud is more, I'm going to ask Nimbus to do everything Nimbus does, but only make it available for my company. So it's not available to external sources. And I might even have the ability to ask Nimbus, could you run my system on a very separate section, isolated from everyone else? Obviously, I'm going to pay a little bit more for that, but it gives me the ability to do that. Personal cloud sounds interesting, but it's really kind of defeats the idea of cloud. A personal cloud is basically creating your own cloud on your company's premises. This is usually done for very large organizations where they have a dedicated team to take care of their personal cloud, and then the other teams that are distributed through the company can utilize their own personal cloud. So again, it's usually for very large companies. Hybrid is basically a mix and match of any of these, where I can have some of my systems in the public, maybe a little bit more of my business in the private, and maybe I create a personal cloud where I can use a little bit on site. It's a mix and match, and basically you're allowing these to communicate with each other in a very safe manner. So again, it's not every company is cut and dry like Alice's company. There might be needs and usage for some on premises and some in the cloud. So using a hybrid approach can be used. So really, again, this was a very basic look at cloud computing, what it is and why we need it. Important, again, just to make sure that everyone has a good understanding, is cloud is really just using someone else's servers. I'm just renting them from someone else, and I'm asking them to take care of those servers for me. We talked about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Okay. There are other ones out there. You may hear like storage services or testing as a service. There might be others that are out there, but those are the three that we really took a look at, and we took a look at the different delivery models: public, private, personal, and hybrid. So hopefully now this gives you a better sense of what the cloud is and why companies have been choosing to do it. Some companies have been choosing to revert back from the cloud back to on-site, and some using hybrid, obviously, to approach their business needs. So every business is different and every need is different. So thank you for watching the video, and again, I hope this helped, and thank you very much, Nimbus.